So here we have a bunch of problems that we need to simplify, and some of them are quite easy. Like these two here, they are like terms because they both have the square root 5 in them, so we can combine those like terms. Not here, but same here, right? Over here, we would need to simplify the square root 8 before we can combine the like terms, and that's what's going to happen on a lot of these problems. I didn't want to go over all of them. I just wanted to go over some of them. So maybe I could start with number 3. What about that? So what can we do here? Well, I can go ahead and start by simplifying that first radical 8. So let's do a prime factorization of 8, and we get 2 times 2 times 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, minus square root 2. So what can we pull out of the square root? I got a pair of 2's there. So that's going to be equal to 2 square root 2 minus square root 2. Now all of a sudden, since I've simplified the square root 8, I have like terms. So I can do square root 2 minus 1 square root 2. And that's going to equal to 1 square root 2, and that would be my answer. And so for a lot of these, that's what you're going to find. If you simplify the term with the square root 75, you'll be left with like terms, and then you can add them together, right? So for a lot of these problems here. Number 6, these are not like terms, right? These two are, because they both have a square root 2a, but this one is not. But if you went ahead and simplified this in the same way we did here, you would see that you would be left with 2 square root 2a, and all of a sudden they're all like terms, and we can combine like terms, right? This one here, number 7, is very similar to the previous problem we did on the previous video. So you want to go ahead and watch that and see how we simplified the square root 1 over 6. Okay. Over here, we simplify each and combine like terms. Same thing with number 9. And then let's do 10 together. All right, so 10 is kind of a hard one. So let's say is equal to 2 square root 3 is cannot be simplified. So let's just leave that as is. We'll have a 2 square root 3. Then minus 4 times 45. Let's go and simplify that. So we get minus 4 times the square root of. Now 3 is a evenly divisible into 45. So let's pull out a 3. Then we're dividing 45 by 3, so that's 15. So the factors of 15 are 3 and 5, right? Okay, so now what about the 2 square root 1/3? Well, we can apply the quotient rule. So we'll get 2 times the square root of 1 over the square root of 3. And to simplify this fraction, we need to have the denominator be a rational number. And we'll do that by multiplying this term by square root 3 divided by square root 3, right? Or 1. We can multiply a term by 1. That's just going to result in the same term. Right? So let's go ahead and simplify this. We have the 2 square root 3. And then on this one, we have 2 3's as factors under the square root. So we could pull that out. That becomes negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 square root, and the 5 is left over. Now over here, what do we have? We have a plus 2 times square root 3 divided by 3. All right, because square root 3 times square root 3 is 3, and then square root 1 times square root 3 is square root 3. Okay, so now we can go ahead and separate this fraction into 2 parts. Right? Let's go ahead and do that here. So we'll have 2 square root 3 minus 12 square root 5 plus, and we could do 2 times 1 over 3 times square root 3. Okay. And so what am I doing here? I am pulling out the numerator, right? Because this little fraction here is the same as 1 over 3 times square root 3. And that might look a little strange, but if we put a 1 underneath the square root 3 and we multiply these two fractions together, you're going to end up with square root 3 over 3, right? So these two terms are equivalent terms. Okay. So now that we do that, hey, we have like terms, right? The first term and the third term are like terms. So we can combine them. So 2 times 1/3, this is going to be 2/3 times square root 3, right? So this is going to be 2/3 square root 3. So 2 times square root 3 plus 2/3 times square root 3 is going to be 2 2/3, right? Square root 3 minus 12 square root 5. Are we okay with that? So what are we doing? We're saying 2 times 1/3 is going to be 2/3 times square root 3. So it's 2/3 square root 3. And we're adding 2 plus 2/3. It gives us 2 2/3 times square root 3. All right, combining these like terms. And so that's our final answer. And then I'll let you chew on the rest of these problems over here.